My name is Afton Hiscox. I was a CCU president who graduated in the class of 2012, I believe. Um, and I was a chemistry major for my whole time at UBCO, and very, very involved in the CCU for the whole time. I am a project manager at a consulting firm that focuses on drug development. And so we are this company I work for. We have software and services that are really leveraged by the drug development industry to accelerate the development of medicines. So our clients include small biotech companies, large pharma companies, international philanthropic organizations that are trying to develop therapeutics for patients in need. When I graduated from UBCO, I really wanted to continue with chemistry. I just absolutely loved the subject, and so I pursued my master's degree at the University of Toronto in organic chemistry and natural product total synthesis. And from there, I got a job at Johnson and Johnson working as a medicinal chemist at their site in sunny San Diego. And so for almost 5 years, I worked designing and synthesizing new molecules as potential new drugs for mood disorders like depression. And so that was super interesting work. Obviously, very, very. I mean, everything that I learned during my chemistry degree, I was relying on heavily. Right now that I was a chemist at the bench. But after about 5 years there, I wanted to learn more about the business and more about drug development and just kind of broaden my scope and broaden my knowledge in the industry. So I left Johnson and Johnson in 2019, and I went back to school to do a master's of business administration at U of T again. And I completed that in 2021. And while I was doing that, and I started working at a startup company that was developing machine learning tools for drug discovery. And then more recently, I moved over to this company, Certara, as a project manager in their integrated drug development department. The accomplishment I'm most proud of in my career, and that I still tell people, this still stands, is that one of the compounds that I worked on while I was at Johnson and Johnson, it was an underdog, and it didn't look like the greatest drug. It had some issues, and a lot of people wanted to dismiss it. But I wanted to make sure we got enough data to really make sure we were making an informed decision before we put this compound to rest. And so after running more tests and collecting and analyzing more data, it turns out the compound actually was not so bad after all, and it just completed a phase 1 clinical trial. So that's pretty cool to have worked on a program, to have worked on a compound that went to the clinic, because honestly, the number of compounds that are synthesized in the beginning of a program, compared to the number of compounds that make it to the clinic, it's a very, very small ratio. My current profession is a result of a number of career decisions over the years, but I have to say chemistry is what set me on this path. So while I was at UBCO, I was like absolutely fascinated with chemistry. Organic chemistry was my favorite subject, while everyone else, hated it and said it was the hardest subject of their lives. I was like, throw me an organic chemistry problem any time of day. That's what I'm here for. And so I just loved chemistry. And after I completed my master's degree, I was really intrigued about roles in the pharmaceutical industry where I could use chemistry to design potential drugs and eventually help patients. And it's interesting to think that I ended up there, because I remember while I was doing my bachelor's degree, I remember thinking, when Professor Nealand was in lectures talking about explaining what medicinal chemistry is, I was so intrigued. And I remember thinking, that's my dream job. That's what I want to do. And somehow I made it happen. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I did that for 4 years. I after I graduated from UBCO and then I completed my master's degree at U of T. There was no question that I wanted to get a role in the drug discovery and the drug development industry. Even though I'm not at the bench anymore, and I'm in a project management role, working with clients now. It all started with chemistry, honestly. The business degree was a completely different experience. Doing a master's of business compared to a master's of science was like night and day, completely different. The master of science was research driven, and you're creating new knowledge in a really niche area of your research, and you're making discoveries that nobody's made before. The master's of business administration was completely different, and it was extremely structured. It was not research based. It was entirely course based. It was really tough, having absolutely no background in business, but it's given me an appreciation now for the business context, for what we're doing and why we're doing it, and the goals behind it. And I'm able to kind of speak that business language now, so that I'm not completely lost when I'm in a room full of people talking business stuff. I'm like, well, at least I know what you're talking about. So it certainly was not it was not related to chemistry at all. It's not like you can go do business degree and then be a better chemist as a result, right? Like it's pretty different, but I'm not at the bench anymore. And so for the next phase of my career, I think the business degree has been and will continue to be helpful. Lean on the resources available to you. So going to UBCO, being a student at UBCO, you have access to resources that a lot of students do not have if they go to a larger university. So first of all, lean on the CCU. The CCU provides awesome programming, events, not just support for academics, which they obviously provide a lot of, but also, fun ways for you to meet some friends and make new friends, who will come in very handy when you're having, a stressful night, or you can study with them, you can lean on them. So lean on the CCU, first of all, for sure. That's a fantastic resource. Lean on your friends and the people around you and your peers. If you're having a hard time with a certain problem, chances are your peers are as well. And so you just get talking to them and start working with them. And then lean on your professors and your TAs, because in retrospect, the resources that I had at UBCO were like unparalleled compared to when I went to a larger university like U of T. You have such an advantage at UBCO. You get so much face time with your professors being at a small campus. In some cases they get to know you on a first name basis. Same with your teachers' assistants. And so you have access to so much support, where at a larger university, there might be thousands of people, right, that this professor sees in a day or teaches to in a day. So you don't really have access to them like you do at UBCO. So just lean on the resources that you have academically, but also you're going to need friends around you. You're going to need a support network. So make some friends and lean on them too. It was awesome. It was really, really fun. I joined in my first year as just a member, and I attended all the midterm study sessions. It just became such a good community for me. And then you get so close to your other CCU execs, that when I look back on my time at UBCO, I think my involvement with the CCU is by far my fondest memory.